Hello, everybody. This is Mike from the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. My wife Beth and I would like to invite you to join us each week as we examine life at the intersection of marriage, family, careers, and ministry. Through 28 years of ministry, 26 years of marriage, 23 years of professional careers, and 21 years of being parents to 3 kids, our fun and honest discussions promise to have something for everyone. And now, on to the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. This is Mike.
And Beth.
And Josh.
Josh is joining us today.
Yep.
Yay,
This is
Josh.
crazy. The first 3-person podcast we've ever tried.
And it wasn't even planned. Like, we just finished dinner, and Josh was sitting here, and he was like, I'll join.
Don't expect me to come back.
Oh, what if the fans love you?
Yeah, what if if our numbers, like, skyrocket because of you?
What if I don't love the fans? What if I'm like a special occurrence? Like, what if y'all have to pay me to do this?
Oh, no, we're not.
Because I would do
paying
it if
you.
y'all paid me
No.
to do this.
Your payment is you get to live in our
okay.
house.
Did you just pay for that meal I just fixed you?
Okay,
Yes, okay.
but if I make y'all's numbers and views skyrocket, hypothetically speaking, then I feel like I deserve to get paid for it. I feel like I deserve the money.
Do I deserve to get paid for what a wonderful young gentleman you've grown up to be and for parenting you and the work and effort I put into it? No. All right,
well,
no
Josh,
payment.
this is your first time on the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. Let's bring new listeners up to speed. We have 3 kids. Our oldest, Jacob, is currently in South Carolina doing an internship with the Audubon Society. I hope he's not speeding down there.
Ha ha.
The other person in our family is our daughter, Maria. She is currently working in the Disney College Alumni Program at Disney World, at Hollywood Studios in Star Wars Land. So,
And it's been really cool because, like, with Jacob, we've learned a lot in hearing about how you not only catch the birds, but their appropriate holds and how you band them and how they track them. And for Maria, it's always interesting just hearing about the way Disney operates and working there and, encounters that she has. So, yeah.
So then we're left with 1 kid at home.
Isn't he lucky?
Joshua.
The focus of all of our attention.
Joshua is our 15-year-old, just finished his freshman year of high school son. And so he's stuck here with mom and dad. And we just finished dinner. And Beth was like, when are we going to do the podcast? And I said, let's do it right now. And Josh kept sitting at the table. I said, what are you doing? And he was like, well, I'll just sit here. I said, you're going to sit here. You're going to join us. So here you are.
Yes.
All right, Josh. Josh has a love. Josh has gone through several different loves in his life as far as things that he's enjoyed. But right now, he is a huge music lover.
I adore music.
You have a very eclectic taste when it comes to music. You're all over the place. You went to a Pearl Jam concert with me a couple weeks ago. And then we see. I feel like when we hit record stores, you're buying rap albums. So you're all over the place. Right now, your current top 3 favorite artists to listen to. They could be new, old, whatever. If I said, look, you only got 3 artists to listen to for the next month, what 3 artists would you listen to?
Okay, I feel like that's pretty simple. My 3 artists, I feel like one is he's a rapper, but I feel like he's not old, but like he's like 2016, 2017, Lil Uzi Vert. I've really been rocking with his stuff recently.
What would you, Lil
Uzi Vert. I feel like
Uzi Vert?
I don't even know how to spell that.
I don't even know if
wonder.
that's English.
It's kind of like when he loved insects, and I'm like, is that even a real word when he would tell me something?
We had a cat named Uzi, and we renamed him Bucky, but he was named after Lil Uzi Vert, so I'm surprised you don't know that.
I don't
That was Bree's cat, the gray one.
I
God rest
remember
his soul.
Bucky, yes,
Bucky,
poor little
God rest
Bucky.
his soul.
Yeah. That whole thing when that was
When you
awful.
killed it, yeah.
I did not.
Yeah,
Please,
she
no,
did.
Mom did.
No,
Beth
Mom
did.
did.
Please, can I just clarify what
no.
happened?
No, Mom brought the cat in with the dog inside.
No,
and then
I was
the dog freaked
outside
the cat
with the
out.
dog outside, and then the dog.
Mom freaked that poor little angel of a cat out, and then she
No,
proceeded.
this
She
is
proceeded
not
to
at all
freak
what
out.
happened.
She
Let me
was
tell it
convinced
quickly.
she got cat scratch fever, and that she got rabies, and that she was gonna die.
That is not
So
at
she
all
immediately
correct.
went to the urgent care, and the urgent care called animal control on us because Mom went there, and she was like, well, "I have a cat, and it's unvaccinated and it's unmedicated."
Okay, it was a brand new kitten
worms,
that really
it
had
has
been
rabies.
removed.
And then the deputy came and arrested the kitten.
Can I
took it
please
in
back up?
kitten cuffs.
It was very.
Yeah,
this was
they
a
dragged
very
it out.
traumatic experience. So really quick, I had the kitten that was probably too young to be separated from its mom. Like it was your friend, Josh, right? No, it was Maria's
Maria.
friend.
Whoa, are you
anyway,
talking about-
Maria's friend had somehow rescued this kitten, and I decided that I was just gonna like hold it outside, and I was sitting in my little chair, and it was like. And no, y'all didn't know. And so somebody let the dogs out. Well, of course,
Who
let the dogs out? Anyway, so when the dogs ran out, that startled the cat. It didn't just scratch me, it bit me deep into my thumb. And so I knew the cat had not been vaccinated and that nothing else had happened. So I was like, well, I'm going to go to the urgent care and get checked. While at the urgent care, no one said anything to me like, oh, we have to report this. This is the first time this has happened to me, so I didn't know. So I went to the urgent care. They told me what to do, washed it, cleaned it, told me what to look for, all of that. And I had no idea anything else would happen. The next day, the doorbell rings and we go, and there's a deputy there on our front porch saying that he had to collect the kitten. And it was very traumatic. Everybody was upset.
you could have
because it was
refused?
no, I couldn't.
You can.
Can?
I didn't know that.
What are they gonna do?
Well, what-
Barge in
no,
the house?
no,
They
Yeah,
have a
they ain't got no
permit?
search warrant.
They
They can't
are
come in here and
actual-
take you.
No, we're
Mom,
not.
they're
Okay,
fake police
okay.
officers.
Just like you can deny a cop giving you a ticket, you could deny him coming in here and doing that.
I
Say,
guess
say it's the wrong cow. Say it's Dave and Megan.
Sovereign
Make them take
immunity.
dogs.
You
So
can't.
they
They
had
can't come in here and
so-
get that.
Okay, never mind. We're not. Anyway, they took the cat. While they had the cat got sick while it was because what they have to do is they have to take the cat and monitor it to make sure it doesn't display signs of rabies or other issues. While there, the cat got sick, and soon as like within days of getting it back, the cat died, and it was very traumatic for all of us. And trust me, the family always talks about the time that I quote killed the kitten and all of that, and it broke my heart. I cried about it. I would be driving down the road like weeks later and like cry thinking about that poor kitten suffering when it was sick and died. So I have served my time. I have suffered, and it was not intentional.
You made yourself seem a lot more calm when you were talking about how you went to the urgent care.
But
you were deeply distraught.
Beth,
and
if
then
it makes you feel
showed
any
us
better, the
scratch
family
on his
voted, and we would have rather been you.
Yeah.
Oh, please. Okay. All I'm saying is, I don't
If we
understand why
could've-
no
if we-
one got upset with you for letting the dog out. Everyone
You
blamed
just said
me.
you didn't know who let the dog
I
out.
knew it was you that let the dogs
That
out.
was. I don't even remember Dad
It
being
was.
here. I'm
It
not
was
gonna lie.
Mike. He let the
I don't
dogs
think I
out.
was at
No,
home.
I think the
Yes.
people that were here it was me, you, Maria, and I think Sam and Zach were here.
Well,
Yeah, Sam and Zach were here.
okay. Well, Mike let the dogs out. Anyway,
So it's Dad's fault
this
even
is
though
no
it's
one needs
Time
to
out.
know
Do you
this.
know what that song "Who Let the Dogs Out" is about?
I don't know, probably
no.
police.
Huh?
I don't
The
know.
police?
No.
No, I don't know.
It's about ugly girls at a club. I swear, I just heard that for the first time.
That's so not nice. Oh.
The dogs out. That's
So
what it's
mean.
about.
And everybody sings
Everybody
it.
sings
And
it.
they play it at sporting events, and they play it all the time. And all the poor ugly girls. I mean, that's just not nice.
Ugly girls at a club. Who let the dogs out? And
okay.
there you go, singing that song around.
And now it's going to be stuck in my head, and now it's ruined forever because I know what it means. You know, like now that I know the intent behind that song, I'm never going to
Mom's
hear
still
it.
Well,
the
I'm
same
sorry, I'm
anyways.
having to like drop this knowledge on you.
Yeah.
Back to the song. So, Little
Yeah.
Uzi Vert.
Little Uzi Vert, yeah. For number 2, I've really been rocking with Marvin Gaye recently. I've really been loving
Oh,
Marvin
we
Gaye.
were in the car,
Marvin Gaye.
and Grandma, like Josh, had his music playing, and my mom was in there, and she's like, "Well, look at you, Josh."
back in the day.
That's right.
Yeah.
She was like, "This is our music, Marvin Gaye." she was excited.
I love me some Marvin Gaye.
Do you have a favorite song?
Shoot, I don't know. I really like "I Want You" off of "I Want You." I don't know. That's a good song. Shoot, I don't know. I just like that whole album. I like.
Well,
That's
let's
what
not-
somebody says when they don't know it.
That's
When they're
the
like,
name of the
I love so
song.
and so. Really, what's your favorite song? Oh man, I don't know, man. There's too many to choose from.
No, I
But
just said I
like when
love
he
that
loved
album. I said,
Led
"I Want
Zeppelin,
You"
he
off of
went
the album.
deep on Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
but
I
like when
used
he
to
used to
like
love
Led
Led Zeppelin, he could pull some songs.
Okay,
and
so
stuff
Little
anyway.
Uzi Vert, followed by Marvin Gaye, followed by
Followed by, I don't know, that's hard. It's either going to be another rapper, he's from Florida, named 454, or it's going to be a really, really cool band named, Glass, what is it? Is it Glass Beach, I want to say? Yeah, Glass Beach. It's a really, really cool band. I don't know where they're from. They make really amazing music, though. I think it's probably...
Do any of these have inappropriate
rock.
lyrics?
I mean,
because
super.
now that, like, if not super
probably
inappropriate,
Uzi's probably the most.
I was gonna say. So if we go listen and like look at a rating, see now you may have.
What is
just
454? Is
had all
that
the
like the
music
area
taken
code
away.
or something? I feel like that's what they
Basically,
do sometimes.
no, I think it was, he really loved the PlayStation. So I'm pretty sure he named his name. I'm pretty sure one of the PlayStation consoles had like 454 like exclusive like games or something, and then he named himself after that or something like that. I don't know his exact name and scheme. I just heard that somewhere, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I really like him, though. He's a smaller artist from Florida. He's also like a DJ and everything. He recently did an interview. It was really cool. Who was with Our Generation Music. It was really
Okay, so
he has a really high voice, too.
You're kind of close, but it says the 454
Mom.
Mini. Oh well, then maybe that's not just him. Sorry, it was talking about a Chevrolet engine, but
She
then the
reading
rapper.
Google AI?
4-5, yeah, she
Yes,
was.
it is.
Golly.
454 comes from 454 model of Chevrolet Big Block engine.
A tribute to his father, who has a passion for
A
cars.
454.
Yeah, so that's what it.
So is it 454 or 454?
I always call him 454. I've heard it. 454,
454 is an engine.
is the engine. I've heard 454. I say 454.
They call you know what? We're going to start calling you 4C.
And his sister is
Four-cylinder.
also a rapper,
That's your
and
engine.
she is
Pig the Gemini.
Pig the Gemini.
Yes. She does
So
she does a lot of
these
songs
they
for
have
him.
some interesting names. Very very creative, I would say. Yes,
very, very talented.
Very very creative.
And
Yeah.
Glass Beach is a really interesting. It's kind of like a rock sort of art pop type thing, or art rock, I guess I should say. It's
Well,
kind of.
what happened to Sampha? Because you took
okay.
pride in getting in on the ground floor with him.
No,
You're
I
one
still-
of the earliest
I still love
adopters.
Sampha. Sampha's still my favorite, like, of all time. But right now, those are just the artists who I'm rocking with. the
But
most.
my favorite is when we listen to Sampha. So now I can identify
He has
some
a really
Sampha
thick
as well
British
as like
accent.
all these other. But yeah, so like he'll be like dancing, like we danced, or I can't instead of I can't, I can't. So like we laugh, Josh and I'll be like, Josh, I can't right now because instead of I can't.
Do you laugh at mom when she does that?
No.
That's not very funny.
And then she always
no,
says.
I'm
she
just
always says.
it's more funny in context when you're listening to the song and Sampha's just said it in a lyric.
She always says she reminds her of Ed Sheeran, and always makes me sad a little bit. I'm like, I don't know.
Well,
I'm
no,
not a big Ed
no,
Sheeran fan. I'm not a
Sampha's
big fan of most
I'm not
redheads in
saying-
general, so.
So
Sampha
he's
is not
a-
better than Ed Sheeran.
Sampha
Yeah,
is a million
I
times better
think
than Ed.
I think Sampha maybe.
What does Ed Sheeran even do?
Ed Sheeran is great.
Ed Sheeran, all he does is sit around with the guitar and be redheaded. That's all
That's
he does.
fine.
Well,
And
but
he
Sampha
somehow
is
gets
just
8 trillion
Sampha has
streams.
a very unique and different
He's-
sound. The way he puts
He
he's
produces
hard.
everything, he plays the piano.
I would say
he's
he's
a
hard
musical
to like.
genius. He's hard to pinpoint.
It'd be
musically.
That's what I was just gonna say. He is one of those you can't necessarily just put him in a box and say this is the type of music
He's a
that
genius.
he is.
He's the
Yeah.
GOAT. He's a billion times better than Ed Sheeran.
Anyway, okay, Josh, if this is what you're going to do with the
I do not care
podcast,
for Ed Sheeran.
oh, what just happened? Where did we go?
I love it. It's like 2-on-1.
Oh, I don't like it, and so I'm going to probably bow out if this is the way it's going to
You're
be
gonna quit?
every
What, are
week.
you going to rage
Yes.
quit like you do in gaming?
Maybe you never know. I mean, if you keep
Mike,
ganging
why'd
up
you
on-
do that? I hear that every single time. Right at the end, Mom goes, "Mike, why'd you do that?" And she slams her little MacBook shut, and then she storms off to her room.
Is it- no,
And she comes.
sometimes
She
it's
comes
Ross.
out 2 minutes later. Yeah, sometimes
Sometimes
she
it's
does say,
Ross.
Ross.
Why did Ross do that? Yeah, like Ross, why did you take my track in the Ticket to Ride and block me or something? Yeah. Anyway, yes.
So you two went on a trip this weekend.
Yeah.
You went down to South Carolina
Yes.
to Bieber. Is that right?
Justin Bieber.
Beadler.
Justin Beadler
no,
Park.
No, it is
Yes,
not Justin.
Beadler
No.
Park. Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's the Audubon Society owns this property. It's Beadler Forest, and they are near Harleyville, South Carolina. So that's about it. Well, if you're not having terrible traffic, it should be about an hour from Charleston, but with traffic, it could be an hour and a half. We've learned from Jacob, but
It's always an hour
that's
and a half.
where we were able to like go on the trail there and see the birds.
Yeah, we saw a big old barred owl. It swooped down. It's just kind of
Who cooks for you?
it was doing that.
We did hear, the Who Cooks for You, but that's for our listeners who aren't as into birds. That's one of the ways we learned some of the different bird calls was the Who Cooks for You. So we're walking, and it just swoops down and sits there. And we were getting close, and it was one of the most amazing things because it was staring in the water.
Did it have a Tootsie Pop in his hand?
No, it didn't.
Did it lick it?
It didn't say how many licks. No. But it was looking for crawdads. We think it was looking for like crawdads or something to eat. But every once in a while, if we made some noise, he'd turn his head and look at us. But I had to send a picture because I'd gone for a walk with some Salem friends one time, and there were some owls that made this very screechy noise, which I've played for the boys, and we still haven't identified what the owls are. But
those are drones.
No,
they probably were.
These ladies insist that these were like attack owls that were like going to attack
Russian
us.
Spy owls, like your Russian beluga whale.
Listen, that's real. Okay,
no, it isn't. There's no whales.
No, the
Russians didn't train.
No, I didn't say that part was real. I'm saying the whale that they called
texted me and said he turned off that episode when you started talking about the beluga whale because that's when this show jumped the shark.
Did he really say that? Why? But
I didn't make it up. A Russian beluga whale.
No, but listen. Here's the thing. That really upsets me, and let me tell you why.
Mom,
I'm not saying that I believe he was a Russian spy whale.
His name was dead in the water.
Vladimir, Hvaldimir.
Vladimir?
They called him that. That was his name. Yeah. So I'm just saying, there was all this speculation about, but
he's Russian, he's a spy, he's named Vladimir.
But he was white too.
If people look him up, you will just, if people look him up, you'll see. I just resent everybody. I'm not saying I thought it was a spy whale. I'm just saying that's how I ended up following him because otherwise, okay, there's a beluga whale in Norway, but then it caught my attention. I started following the Instagram.
I thought we were talking about your trip to South Carolina.
Oh, I don't know. Well, anyway,
what were South Carolina?
But the owls. Okay, also the birds. So we got to go to and see some of those birds. What was the type of bird that Jacob? The name of it, I forget.
He does the painted buntings and the Prointheri warbler.
That's the one I feel like I say wrong. I don't know how to pronounce it.
You can look it up. I don't know.
But it's a warbler, and they are right now. I think
they're pretty. It's mating season. Yeah. So then, what was it? What was it that dude showed us? Where he had like the stump, and then he made like the fake bird and would spin around.
Yes, that was one of the coolest things. Jacob has a coworker who was like an artist or something. I can't remember, some type of like art major or something. Not something unexpected. And he works there and he knows all about the birds, but he designed the stickers, but he also made this. It was
like a log kind of.
It was, and it would do the calls and spin. It would have a little
bird spinning on top.
Yeah.
Like he whittled it?
Well, he put it together. He envisioned a way to attract birds.
Yeah. If you've ever seen like a cypress, like one of the stumps that come out the ground near the cypress, it kind of looked like you chopped that off and then you hollowed it out and then you put a little stuffed bird on top and then it'd spin. He would like, what was it? Was it batteries or was it like?
I think it was like batteries.
I thought it was battery powered. Yeah, and then play all these bird calls and the birds would swoop in and try to attack it and then catch them like that.
And then we got to learn about the birds, and that's where Jacob showed us too. They had already gone, but like there was some baby pileated woodpeckers, which they have a red, very distinct
red crest
on there, and they have a very distinct call.
Yes,
and
it's like a laughing.
That's one that Jacob loves, but they are harder to see because they have a really large territory. So they've got a big space they're flying in, so it's not like you'll have a lot of them. Like you might have a bunch of cardinals around together or something. And then the red-bellied woodpecker?
The red-headed?
No, there was another.
It was the red-bellied woodpecker.
Woodpecker's also there. But he had seen a nest of babies. And so he talked about just learning how to also with the babies to there's a certain period when you can band them and track them. And then we also learned about the cypress knees. I thought it was knees, but these are those trees, these cypress trees, and they have these lumpy pieces. Yes. I mean, I guess it would be like if you bent your knee, kind of coming out of the swamp, and it looks like the root.
Yeah, it just kind of like sticks up. Looks like it kind of grows up and then back down, kind of.
But what's so fascinating is the first time when we moved Jacob in, Josh and I talked about it, and we didn't know exactly why they're there, and no one knows for sure. They think it could be to help it absorb oxygen from the air. They think it could be like the roots. Anyway, so there was lots of like educational things, but by far that owl sitting there for so long, that was just amazing. Cool. And the three of us just stood there like, and we were watching it because we didn't want to disturb it, and we kept thinking it would fly off, but it just, it stayed, and it was so close to us. It was really surprising how close we were able to get. It was really, really neat. I loved it. Yeah. So we did that. That was fun.
Interesting.
We tried to fish. We got some nibbles and it took our bait, but we didn't catch anything we're trying to get gar or catfish in that water. Jacob did tell us that he's seen the really big alligator. Yes. There's one that lives in there.
12-foot alligator or something.
And he's seen it out there by his place.
I sent Jacob a video I found on Instagram Reels yesterday. It wasn't on Google Giggles, but it was on Instagram Reels. It was kids, I say kids, like teenagers, fishing at a Florida golf course. And they were standing like on the fairway. And I say this because there's a golf course through the woods behind our house.
Right.
We don't live on a golf course. There just happens to be one near us.
You could get there. You could cut. Our neighbors will sometimes let us cut through the woods at their house.
And Jacob and his friends would go down there and go fishing, in the later afternoons, when nobody's playing golf. And they'd go down there and go fishing a lot. So that's what kind of caught my attention on this video. It was like kids fishing on a golf course. And they caught a fish, and they were reeling it in. And it was a pretty decent-sized fish. And right when it got to shore, an alligator jumped up out of the water and grabbed that fish. And those kids started screaming, and they dropped that rod, and they kept videoing it. But I was like, holy cow.
That's scary.
You can't go fishing in Florida on a golf course, not like you can here in North Carolina.
Well, I will say one thing. We also, Jacob almost caught an armadillo to show us.
According to him, there was a big old armadillo in the woods, and he ran up. I don't know what he was trying to do. He said he put his hands on it, and it squirmed out somehow.
But a lot of people don't like armadillos because there's a very slight chance you could get leprosy. But then we also talked about how there's well, they don't want to touch them.
That's a bad way to go.
I have never heard that.
They can be carriers of leprosy.
Okay, so 5% of people in America can get leprosy, and 0.1% of armadillos can carry leprosy or something like that.
Yeah, because it says non-banded armadillos are a natural reservoir of the bacteria that causes leprosy. And so it's rarely transmitted from armadillos to humans. But they do have the bacteria, but only this is like 20% of them have the
grab armadillo.
But they say that but leprosy is rarely transmitted to humans that way, and so there's almost no cases of it, and there's very few people that's happened to. But anyway, so I really wanted to see. We saw one in the distance, but we really wanted to see an armadillo. So he was going to try to catch it, but he didn't. But Josh caught some frogs. We did catch some frogs and skinks. Yeah. So
and they went to the zoo on the way home.
Yes. So Riverbank Zoo
in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yes, because we wanted to break up the drive.
Every year is voted one of the best in America.
So it's interesting
because
it's one of
the best.
But he's right. It is voted. It was a cool zoo, but
it wasn't huge or anything. It wasn't.
It's very different. So in North Carolina, we have the Asheboro Zoo. Well, we call it the Asheboro Zoo because it's in Asheboro. I guess it's the North Carolina Zoo, and it's different because it's here's the comparison. When we went to San Diego years and years ago, I remember you and I went to the San Diego Zoo and the San Diego Wild Animal Park. The Wild Animal Park is very much the animals are kind of out. And of course, they're still enclosed, but they're much more akin to their natural habitat. And they're, because it's a lot bigger, free roaming space. The great thing is that's fabulous for the animals, and you as a viewer are able to see the animals behave probably more naturally like they would in their habitat. I think it's probably better for the animals. The bad thing is though, you might show up and you don't see the animals or whatever. Where the zoo, the same, it was more like a traditional zoo.
Or the Atlanta Zoo is like that.
Yes,
where you're right on top of them.
Yeah, and so this one was probably in between. I mean, they had some.
Yeah. They had some.
It was closer up, but they had some really cool habitats they had designed.
Yeah, especially like in the inside with like all like the desert.
Yeah,
stuff. It was really cool how they did the.
And
inside.
they have an aquarium at the zoo that had a massive octopus, which was awesome.
It was stuck up all in the glass.
Yeah, and they had a lot of
really
reptiles and amphibians and stuff, which we were excited about,
like sharks and like sea turtles.
Yeah, it was very. So I think that may be one of the reasons. So it's not like the Asheboro Zoo, the North Carolina Zoo, in that you do get closer up to the animals, and it's smaller. It's not as much walking as I had anticipated it would be. And I think for the variety, it has a great variety. It had a koala.
Yeah, I mean, it had Gila monsters.
And so we had to remember the koala. One time years ago, I wanted to see the koala feeding, and we were in Ohio at a zoo. And so I made everybody literally, it was the Columbus Zoo, run from one end of the zoo to the other. And we were like the only people there, and it was like moving in slow motion to eat. Do you remember that?
It's the most unexciting thing I've ever seen in my life.
But I really wanted to see it because I love koalas. But we did have an interesting thing with the Gila monsters.
When we went over to the Gila monster exhibit, it was a feeding time for them.
And a guy is in there with the three of them.
Yeah, so dude's in there, and he has this, he just kind of has these like tongs.
What is a Gila monster for those who don't know? Is it like a Bigfoot?
No,
it's a big old lizard that lives out west.
Arizona.
Venomous. It's like 2-3 feet.
Yeah, and they live in Arizona a lot.
Kimono dragon like.
No, not, really.
Not that big.
They're like black and orange. It's kind of like a triangle head, kind of like a.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Show the people listening our picture.
Google it and then.
No, I was gonna look. No. I was gonna look at how long they typically are. That's what I was trying to
Google AI.
see.
Yeah, Google AI is always fake.
I'm looking at the National Park Service. Okay, goodness. Gila monsters. Let's see. They're a venomous lizard. That was another thing. And there's only 2 venomous lizards in North America. Well,
in North America.
America. It's the only one, like it says, in the United States. So anyway, but like people vilify them because they are venomous. But I would say, I'm not seeing where it tells us how long it is, but it says the venom is potent and painful. But usually it's not fatal.
Yeah, they don't got a cure for it either.
Yeah, so that's kind of crazy. It says they lay 2 to 12 eggs. We're not finding what we need.
This is riveting podcast.
Basically, there's this big lizard. It's black and red, black, red, orangish, pinkish.
Yeah.
It's around 2 feet long, and they're venomous. And they were all hiding in this little crevasse thing. So this lady, she kind of starts taking out mice. Just dangling
with the tongs, like we did when we would feed our snakes.
And there's this I want to say how old, like 43, 44-year-old lady.
Yeah, she looked a little younger than me. She had a lot of smaller kids.
She had like 10 kids. They were all huddled up on the.
And they were excitedly watching. Yeah.
And the dude, he starts dangling these mice in front. And then the lady, I don't know, she just starts going crazy. She just like starts gagging. She's like, ugh, ugh.
Yeah, she's like,
oh my lord, my babies, they're all psychopaths. They're all staring at the Gila monster. It's eating. Oh my lord, my babies are insane.
And she was like losing it. Like, why? Yeah. She was like, why do people want to? And Josh and I were talking because Josh had a snake, so we would feed it mice. Yeah. These weren't live mice, so it's not like you were watching the life go out of their eyes.
Yeah.
You
know, it wasn't like it was like ripping them in two.
No, exactly.
It really clumsily just like swallowed it.
It wasn't even doing what a snake does, where it's like jaw is in the hinges. Yeah,
it just kind of.
Yeah, it just got
grab it
and was eating it.
Yeah.
So when we walked out, I said to Jacob and Josh, I'm like, are you glad that we took you to lots of like animal encounter, zoos and natural habitats and let you have pets so that you aren't like so freaked out by all that? Boys were like, yeah, but it was just but I thought it was fascinating because he also, once they got the mouse and had it in his mouth, he picked them up by the tail
he would
and
grab
moved them.
And then he put them in other places. Yeah,
it was. I guess he knew that they weren't going to get him because they had a mouse in their mouth. They're not going to bite him.
He's trying to put them on display for all the kids.
I think so too. Yeah. So anyway, that was really cool and different, which also reminded me of something, another plug besides for our North Carolina Zoo. The kids and I remembered when we saw the little place for the sick fishies, when we did a behind the scenes tour of the North Carolina Aquarium and saw how everything worked. And so we were talking about how cool that was. So I would like to do something like that again. You just learn a lot about the science of caring for the animals and stuff.
You're plugging these zoos a lot for someone who's not sponsored by them.
I know, but I do. We just that's our thing. I mean, everywhere we ever went on a trip, pretty much, we would find a zoo or an aquarium or a science center, like some type of science center.
All right, so let's do that. What's your favorite zoos that you can remember? What's your Mount Rushmore of zoos and or aquariums?
Yeah.
Okay.
Atlanta, Georgia, the Atlanta Aquarium. That's up there.
The Georgia Aquarium.
Okay. And what it's known for is it has
Big
the
old
whale
sharks,
sharks, which are
always
massive.
Yeah,
and you walk
through
in
the tube. Yeah, you walk through the tube and you see the whale sharks going overhead.
But what I love even more than that, which to many people would be less impressive, but I don't see this at other aquariums. Lots of aquariums have touch tanks. I'm a sucker for a good touch tank. But they have a lot of the Pacific Northwest in cold water, that the big starfish and things like that
They
that you
don't
can
have all
touch.
the bamboo sharks that bite your fingers.
Yeah, Josh one time went in and they told us we were doing
I
a
went
touch
to a
tank.
Ripley's.
You were very
Ripley's.
small.
Yeah, a shark bit my finger, and then I got a big old stuffed animal afterwards.
But it was funny because they told us just touch it with 2 fingers, which we were doing. It was one of those bamboo shark. And so Josh was doing exactly what he was supposed to. And the next thing I know, he pulls his finger out and the shark is hanging from his fingers. Everybody's like, ah! So they gave Josh a stuffed animal, but it cost us money because then Maria had
because Maria was like, why don't I get a stuffed animal?
And it's like, well, you didn't have a shark just attached to your finger, you know? Like, anyway. But yeah, so
that could be whenever you do 2 truths and a lie.
Yes,
I got bit by a shark.
Yes, and it is true. Yeah. Now, no one that listens to this will not get that, but yeah. So that one's really cool. That one, like aquarium.
Yeah.
You got any other?
Probably. I like the NC Zoo a lot. Actually, no. I'm gonna go Greensboro Science Center.
Really?
Yeah, I feel that's just old, reliable. I don't know. It has a lot of cool stuff there. I don't know.
Yeah, and they've expanded it.
Yeah, they have. They have that little aquarium part. Or
they have an aquarium, and they have a small octopus there, and they've got what are those things? The deep sea
the isopods. They've got the cassowaries and everything. They've got the hippos and everything now.
Yeah, and they have a section. We've never been there when you could, but where if the vet were doing something, like you could walk through and you'd be able to watch it. I like things like that where you can kind of see things happening. I've also been in Monterey, California, to their aquarium. That and the Georgia Aquarium, I think, battle it out. The Monterey Aquarium has so many jellyfish in different tanks.
I think if you separated it all out, I've never been to Monterey, but let's just say you separated aquariums and zoos. You got the Georgia, the Baltimore, and that Chicago one.
Right.
Like those are the big 3.
Is it the Shed Aquarium? Yeah.
So those are the big 3. I don't know what other 4th I'd throw in there. North Carolina has small aquariums and they're pretty nice, but
my problem is that it's been so long since we went to the Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to that recently, but the Chicago and Baltimore, that was before 20 years ago. Who knows what they're like now? I don't remember a lot about them, but yeah, you're right. Those are the really big ones. So, but I do I love our North Carolina Zoo. I enjoyed this Riverbank Zoo. It was good. Right. Yeah.
It wasn't that crazy.
Yeah, but I
like that Greenville Zoo. Remember that one? There's one in Greenville, South Carolina.
Yes,
it's good.
I do remember that.
I like that one we went to out in Arizona. I don't remember. It had the peccaries and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Where was that? What was that?
Oh, I cannot remember.
I only faintly remember that. I remember because they had a chuckwalla and stuff.
Which two other plugs I have to put in. So we've toured some fish hatcheries. Mm-hmm. That's a really cool thing. I think that's a fascinating thing outside, and that's something, they're giving back, not just conservation wise to fish, but the biodome. I know that's not technically biosphere. I know that's not technically a zoo. But that was one of the coolest things that I think we've done. And that was when we were in Arizona, we had heard the biosphere was out there. And
In Tucson, near Tucson.
Yeah. And for the people who don't know, it was scientists wanted to pretty much make a replica of like
Of
what our
Earth
Earth.
and the environment.
Yeah, our atmosphere. And so, and they had people live in it. I bought the book afterwards. The book wasn't very good. I mean, to see what it was like for the people that lived in it. But you walk in and they truly do have these little environments. Like they have a little deserty area with those plants. They have like they have a miniature, what they would call a miniature ocean that has some of the waves and stuff. And they really wanted it to be a completely self-contained biosphere that people would like be in and stay in and not leave, to see if it could be self-sufficient. I guess in theory, you could then, if anything ever happened to our environment, you could have one, or you could do it in another planet one
like
day.
Mars. I think that was what they were testing for.
Yeah, it's like if you went to live on another planet, would we be able to do that? But that's just
apparently not, according to the thing.
Yeah, it didn't work out very well for them.
Breaking their legs and
yeah,
stuff.
People were like
fighting.
Yeah, there was fighting amongst the people, and then also there was like some bacteria. I can't remember, but just some things scientifically didn't work
And those
out.
people
for it.
lived in that thing for
Like
a
7.
long
It was
time.
I can't remember. Since I read the book, I can't remember if they lived in there.
Fully sealed for 7 years, and then they opened it.
I don't know if it made it that long. Yeah, it was called
Because
Biosphere
people lived in there for a
2.
while.
Yeah, that's what I can't remember how
Because
long.
I remember it was sealed for a little while, and then they opened it up because that dude had to get carried out, and they replaced him with some other guy.
Yeah, it said it was built between 1987 and 91, and it was going to show a closed ecological system and how it could mimic the Earth's
space
biosphere,
colonization.
And so that it was just cool. But now the University of Arizona, some of their colleges still do research there. Yeah, it says they used it twice for that purpose of the experiment, once in 1991 and once in 93. And they tried, but they said basically it just didn't work because the oxygen amounts, that's what I remember when I read the book, the oxygen amounts got low, and then that's dangerous, for people. I think they'd hoped they would have enough plants to supplement with the oxygen. And for some reason it didn't work. And so some of the animals and plants that they needed died. And then also the crew, the people there was a power struggle. Imagine that. People can't get along inside, and there was a power struggle. But they truly did have it, like those people couldn't leave. Like you were giving up, just like if you went to the space station or something, like you're in there. Would you now?
Of course you would.
I'm sure you would. We're both
That would
like,
do it only if he was all by himself.
I would do it because I'm not by myself.
Why?
Get away from you people.
Oh, goodness. Here we go. But yeah, so I do, if anybody's ever out there, it was really fascinating. It's one of the cooler things that we've done before. It was really fun.
Yeah. Another neat zoo? The one in Roanoke, Virginia, on top of that mountain.
Yes,
Oh, I
and it's
forgot about
small.
that.
Yeah.
It's small, but
it's cool
so
because
cute.
it's right on top of that mountain.
where it's located.
Where the big star is.
Yes. And then we've been to some centers like raptor centers and things, because Jacob, with his love of birds, went through a phase when he was very fascinated with raptors. And so we've done some things
And
like
the Columbus
that.
Zoo had an amusement park, right? Like, I feel like it was big. It's always like number one in the country. But I feel like
which is why it was a big deal that I made y'all run across it to see the koala eat. But and we went, I can't remember, I was trying to remember where we fed the giraffes that one time or watched them be fed.
Yeah.
Like if that was in Tampa or somewhere. The
What was
zoo.
that thing you had? It was the something wild. It was where you could get the buckets of food, and then you go in the back of the thing, and you could feed like the ostriches.
Oh, yeah, Lazy Five Ranch.
Lazy Five
Five
Ranch.
Ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those drive-through and had all these wild animals, and they come eat out of your car.
That was a different, that's a privately owned.
You didn't care for Lazy Five Ranch?
My main thing is, I know zoos, some people think they're controversial or what have you because of the animals, but almost all the animals, because even there's a bird in captivity where Jacob is, that blue jay that they have, but it was injured and would not have been able to survive in the wild. And I feel like that was the other thing. What was the mating pair that they had at the Riverbank Zoo? And it's the last, or some of the last ones in existence.
It wasn't the last ones. Mom's hyping this up a
Well,
lot.
but
it was
they don't have. They're not they're not naturally. It was
a pheasant.
A Vietnamese pheasant.
Vietnamese pheasant, yes.
Yeah, and
they were critically endangered, and they haven't been seen in the wild in over 20 years.
Yeah,
now.
and they had like 2 of them that they're trying to breed them.
Yeah, they just
so I feel like zoos that are compassionate and care about the animals do a lot to try to. But sometimes I do go and I feel sorry for them.
Let's talk about the worst zoo in the U.S.
Oh,
that's the Buffalo Zoo.
Oh my goodness, that zoo
Buffalo,
depressed
New York
me.
has
I'm
the
sorry,
worst
Buffalo.
zoo on the planet.
Buffalo's got some really cool stuff that I liked, but
I love Buffalo, the city, but the zoo, you walk in, the animals are just like, just kill me.
It is so sad, that zoo. And you had told me, so you had gone to that zoo because you did a work camp up there with group work camps. You had gone on an outing, and then Jacob and I were going to come up to join you. And we needed to kill a little time. So we were like, we'll go to the zoo. And you had told us how it was. And I think we thought you were exaggerating, but you weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sad. That
was bad.
Yeah, it was very sad. And it could have improved. This was when Jacob was in elementary school. So maybe they had some type of movement and infused a lot of cash into that zoo or something to improve it.
Was it any worse when you saw that giant rat in the box that made you cry?
Okay, that was at the fair years ago, and now I think that was one of those chupacabras or something. What? How do you say it?
Chupacabra?
No, not that.
Mom, you think it's a chupacabra?
No, not that. No, what's that?
I think it's a.
What's your favorite cryptid, Mom?
No. Oh, yeah. Well, I would say Nessie or sorry. No, I'm sorry.
The Jersey Devil?
No. Okay,
Bigfoot?
I called it the wrong thing. What are those massive rodents? They're in South America. Thank you. Yes,
that's very different.
I apologize.
That's the thing the little reptilian thing that drained goats of their blood.
Yes. But I do love a good cryptid, and I've been to a few different cryptid museums, which is why it could be easy for me, I think, to overlap these names between these animals and the cryptids, like at places like the International Cryptozoology Museum, which is it's not a museum. I guess it is. Yeah, that's in Maine. It's amazing, but you can learn about all different types of cryptids there. And so, yeah.
Mom believes she's seen the Jersey Devil multiple times.
No, I don't. I never. But
I do every night.
We were. Not
I got
funny.
the Danbury Devil.
Oh my gosh. This is not funny. I'm not enjoying this. Okay. This is not funny.
All right. So while y'all were out bird hunting and looking at animals and going to the beach.
And getting in our natural state.
Yeah. I hung out at the house. Somebody had to take care of our animals.
Our animals, our cats and our dogs.
Yeah. So I played some pickleball.
Boring.
I went to a graduation party. And then Sunday at church, our friend, George South came and spoke. And George is a professional wrestler. He is 63 years old, and he still wrestles multiple times a week. And he's known for wrestling Ric Flair quite a bit. And
putting people over.
Putting people over. He is an enhancement talent. And every interview Rick does, and they ask Rick, who is your favorite all-time person to wrestle? He always says George South.
But the thing that's interesting about the George South, for people who don't know the enhancement, like you said, that's somebody, they make the other people look good, but George was almost always like a, quote, bad guy or a heel. Yeah, as they say in wrestling, a heel in, the professional wrestling world. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just cool. Some cool I mean, I found out Lex Luger, who was one of my favorite wrestlers when I was young. He was my favorite. His first match ever was against George South.
Oh.
And George helped name him the total package.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yes. George said Dusty Rhodes had Lex go in the back and practice putting George in a small package, and he couldn't do it. He said he's so huge and muscular. Yeah. He couldn't do any wrestling moves. And George said something like, well, he sure ain't going to be a total package because he can't even do a small package. And Dusty was like, that's his name, the total package. And Dusty named a torch. He said, what, can you do anything? And Lex is like, well, I could put him on my shoulders and do this. Where he, like,
Which was his
stretches him.
signature move at the end.
Dusty's like, all right, we'll call it the torture rack.
Yeah.
So George wrestled him his first match and was the first one in that and a torture rack. So anyway, George is an amazing Christian man, and he always has stories upon stories upon stories. And recently, George has gotten involved with the Insane Clown Posse and become good friends with Violent J. And so they've invited George to come to their concerts. And so George goes there and hands out Bibles.
Well, okay.
George is a certified juggalo.
Yes, he is. They gave him a jersey and everything. But so yeah, George is great. George is amazing. And so I got to spend a lot of time with George on Sunday before he headed back to Charlotte. And then the family came home on Monday.
The thing I appreciate about George is, of course, he was supportive when Maria was, pursuing her professional wrestling career there for a little while. But I love that he keeps in touch and always prays for our family.
He does.
So that's a really cool
George
thing.
gets up at like 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and he has a notebook that he prays through. And if he says, I'm praying for you, he has prayed for you. And so he texts me all the time. He's like, hey, Pastor, I'm praying for you and your family.
And we need it.
And we need it. And Sunday, he said, how's Maria? And I told him what all she was up to. And he said, I pray for her every day. And I know he does. He's just, he's that kind of guy. And he's the kind of guy that he'll go anywhere and do anything for Jesus. Like, who's going to go in the middle of an Insane Clown Posse concert and hand out Bibles?
Right.
And he's told a funny story at church Sunday. He said he was at an Insane Clown Posse concert. He was handing out Bibles. And there was a guy there dressed up like Jesus. He had long hair, white robe, beard, sandals. And he said, I know he was there making fun of Jesus. And so George said he walked up to him and said, here, why don't you take this Bible? And he said the guy jumped back and put his hands up and was like, no, man, no. And George goes, why not, you dummy? You wrote it. And the guy was like, good point. And he took the Bible and put it in his robe. And George was like, he's going to pull that out of his robe at some point. And he's going to lay it on his counter. And all I can do is pray that one day he picks it up and reads it. But, and he said he goes into schools. Schools will have him come do like motivational talks or whatever. And they give him a list of what he can and can't talk about. And they'll tell him.
I'm sure he's following.
They say you can't talk about religion.
Right.
Well, you're not going to talk to George without him bringing up Jesus.
Right.
So George says, well, how about, he's like, well, can I hand out autographs? And they're like, oh, yeah, we'd love for you to hand out autographs. So George gets those little devotion Bibles and autographs them and gives them out to the kids.
So his autograph just happens to be
in a Bible.
Okay.
The guy is amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody loves him.
Yeah.
He's just an awesome dude. And
which that's been one of the fun things too, just through George and through even when Maria wrestled, just some of the community and the people that we met in the local professional wrestling community, just watching people and seeing maybe like their persona on, in the ring. You would, if you saw George, you would think, that is not a nice man, with like the things he says, but then you know him as a real person and it's like really different. That's a really cool thing to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was fun hanging out with George.
Yeah.
And then y'all came home.
Yes.
And that was the end of my peace and quiet.
And Cam had missed me a lot.
I don't care for that dog.
Oh,
personally.
goodness.
I think he's the most overrated of our 4 pets.
Josh is very
Josh, rank the 4 pets.
Okay.
No, we can't do that.
No, that's easy. It goes Salem, Snips, it goes Cam, and then Reese.
Reese's 4th, even in your book.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, she always jumps up in my bed and then doesn't let me sleep in there. She always jumps in the middle. I
tell Mom, you can push her down.
I do. I throw her down.
But then she gets right back up. And then and the other thing is, I have this issue. I feel really guilty too, because if I'm petting Cam and then she's looking at me, like I can't push her down, because then how does that make her feel if she's seeing Cam get attention and I'm not giving her attention?
Dogs have the brain for emotion.
You don't think dogs can be jealous?
I think dogs can. I don't think either of those two can.
Oh, they do. I'm just saying no, but
yeah.
I mean, so that's one of those times where I'm like, then I feel guilted into like having to pet her too, and so it's challenging. So I know you say, you can push her down, but
So why
it's
don't
not
you
so
just not
off
pet
the couch
Cam,
or
so you
whatever.
won't feel bad anymore?
No.
I can't. I do. Beth was away for a week and came home and said, "How was Cam?" I said, "Honest to God, Josh and I did not touch that dog one time the whole time
And
you were gone.
I was
We didn't
horrified.
pet it. We didn't rub its
Horrified.
head. We didn't. I gave it food. I gave it water. I let it outside.
It's not an it's Cam. Number
an
one. Number two,
It hasn't
I
really
was
received.
absolutely horrified. And that explains, you said that he would burst into my room, like looking for me in the morning, and then he would just lay there dejected and
What
depressed.
has he done though to like
But like
deserve
he,
attention?
because he sits
Like, the
in
cats
my
are
lap,
endearing.
as big as he is, he sits in my lap.
Okay, well,
you can't not give him
The cats
attention.
are endearing. The cats are endearing. Snipsy's rubbing up on the
Like this
table right
cat
now. He's
right
acting
here.
like
Look at
a
old Snipsy.
He's acting
Cam
like a
would
fool.
also, but the thing is with Cam too,
Salem's
he
a
would
sweetheart,
defend
even though
us.
Mom doesn't like him.
If something had to happen, Cam would defend our family. I know it. He would.
I think Salem would.
I think Salem
cat?
would too. Yeah, he's a psychopath.
Well,
Yes,
he-
you look at his
yeah.
eyes sometimes.
Now I will say,
he will
sometimes
stare a
that,
hole through
yeah,
you.
that cat. Sometimes I look at him and he'll jump on me and he'll sit in my lap and he looks at me and I'm like, oh, he's very loving. And other times I look at him and I'm like, he looks like he wants to hurt us.
He
you
looks
know?
those. He has those reptilian eyes.
He does. He blinks sideways.
He does. It's weird.
People are going to be like, what does this cat look like? I don't know.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
That's my little sweetheart.
All right. Well, we just talked about a whole lot of nothing.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And Josh, you did well on your first podcast.
You did.
Yeah, I better be paid well for this.
I was afraid you'd just sit here like some other dumb teenager and just be like, yeah. But you actually
Actually
added.
flick the hair out of my
engaged.
face.
Yeah, flick the hair out of your face.
Yeah.
Yes. Which,
And
speaking
scroll on
of, he
TikTok the
may
whole
have to
time.
have
Yeah.
his like bangs cut at some point. Josh's hair's-
I don't need to have my bangs cut because my school does not need to have my bangs cut.
Oh,
So there's
yes.
no
For those of you
regulations
who
for
are
bangs.
like, what does Josh look like? Think about a 15-year-old Robert Plant or a 15-year-old Dave Mustaine from Megan.
But I thought
Dave
some people
Mustaine
thought he looked
probably
like
looks
Chris
so.
Cornell. I thought, you don't
No,
think?
Chris
his
Cornell
hair-
has a little bit more greasy hair.
Yeah, he has blacker hair.
But if you just don't wash your hair for a few days,
Yeah.
no, I'm not encouraging that. But I'm saying if you didn't, but yeah. So Josh's
So
hair's
you're
got.
encouraging me not showering?
No, I'm not, and you don't. No, I'm not encouraging that. But Josh has this very wavy, thick hair. So
Yeah, I know I'm beautiful.
yes. Yeah. So he it's his pride. It's kind of like Samson, and if we cut it, he loses his strength and I don't know, everything,
Yeah,
I
the
guess.
building
Charm.
collapses on me.
He loses his charm and wit if his hair is cut. So we have to protect it at all costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Oh, did you ever did we talk about ReCon? I can't remember. Did we talk about that on the last
we did not.
podcast?
We just made a real slight reference to that we went to a board game convention.
Oh.
But we didn't
Talk
talk about
your
ReCon.
convention
As opposed
that
to
you
our
started?
board game convention. Yeah, that's 3 days long every Memorial Day. And we raise money for either the children, to bring children over from Belarus to the States for like a few weeks, or
You should
sometimes
come on
for,
Mondays too.
So-
it's always lacking there, and it's always fun there on Mondays.
Yeah, Mondays are like less crowded for sure. Yeah, but like, and we
It's
have
like the
all
Disney
these.
off-season.
We have all these games donated, tons of games that you can do play to win, and we have raffles, and it's just a really great time to like meet new and different people. And we have people demo their games, so you can play games for the first time, and so it's a lot of fun. And we've gotten to know, there's actually a couple that has kids. The only way we know them is they come to ReCon. They usually come most of the days that they can be there. And they're in Disney, and they reached out to see if Maria could babysit. So it's like you do build, you meet people and build relationships with the people who come consistently, which is a really neat thing.
Yeah, we had, just to give you a quick backstory, we had a couple guys in the church that were big board gamers. And maybe 7 or 8 years ago, had the idea of doing a church board game day. It went really well. And so we decided to do it again. And then over the years, it has evolved into what we call ReCon. And ReCon is a 3-day board game convention held at our church all day Saturday, all day Sunday, all day Monday. This year we sold out Saturday. and had really nice crowds, close to sell out on Sunday and Monday. We raised over $6,000 for charity, and none of the money that comes in stays at the church. It all goes out, every bit of it, 100%. And we had, 300 people come to it, and it was awesome.
Where else can you have a full day of entertainment, for that price, essentially,
it's $20 for the whole weekend.
So for $20, you get, what is it, 9 to 9 or something, Saturday and Sunday, and then 9 to 5 on Monday. And then most people walk out with either a raffle that they've won or like a play to win or door to win.
Yeah, we give out so many games.
Yeah.
Just give out so many games. So,
and I tried a new game. So given that Jacob's such a bird lover, we've always loved this game, Wingspan. So if anybody is looking for a game, it's got beautiful art and you learn about the birds on it, and it's a really fun game. Josh watched at the end and helped me a little bit, but we did this game, Fin Span. And it is based on fish.
Yeah, and I basically did the whole game for her.
Yeah.
What do you think is better, fin span or wingspan?
I like fin span more personally.
Really?
Yeah.
Beth?
I need to play fin span again. I think the problem for me is I only played it once, so the mechanics are a little different. Like it's in the way, because there's some kind, like there are eggs that turn into baby fish, and which are sort of like the eggs that the birds have, but the mechanics are different. And they had told me that in some ways, if you've played Wingspan, it's a little harder to learn Finspan because there are parallels and you're trying to compare it to it. And I think that's what I got hung up doing, but I really enjoyed both. And I loved reading about the different types of fish, and it's really well done because fish swim in layers. I mean, the deep sea and the middle sea or whatever, and the top. Yeah. And they have fish. You can only put the fish in the areas they be. Yeah. Yeah.
What was your favorite game you played, Josh?
Favorite game I played, Flip 7.
New World. Flip 7?
Flip 7 or Chinese, the Chinese.
Chinatown.
Chinatown. That's that game. That's when, Danielle and I are, may not agree on some things, but we agree. We don't like betting game. And this is not a betting game, but you have to bargain with each other. And so it can be, but it can be stressful,
the whole game is about negotiation.
And so people get very tense and sometimes frustrated with each other if you want
it's Chinatown.
Yeah,
so
but
we roll in Chinatown.
If you don't trade properties, because you get property and then you're trying to build on it. And Flip 7 is this new game. That's one of those games that I look at and I'm like, how did we not, just like that game Llama, there's all these card games that just take the world by storm. People love them. But Flip 7's very similar to something like a...
Flip 7 is in the final 3 for the Spiel, which is the Game of the Year award.
Really?
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
The worldwide Game of the Year.
But it's really about just trying to get numbers and not bust, which is similar.
It's a push your luck.
Yeah.
It is the perfect push your luck game.
And Llama, I feel like is similar. I mean, it's not exactly, but to an Uno or something, where and so it's just so interesting though, these new games come out and some of them just take off. And I'm always like, I could have thought of that. The mechanics are very simple. The game's probably pretty cheap to make. So,
Well, you didn't think of it. So.
I know, I didn't. We did Maria had to do a game one time for one of her classes. We did help with her card game.
I don't remember anything about that. What was it? It was Monsters?
Or no, her game, wasn't it based on professional wrestling, I think?
Wrestling game.
But that is one thing I do think is really neat once you get into the board games is there are different mechanics of the game. I mean, there's some that are very much what they call deck building games, or you pass around decks, and there are others that are worker placement. And so it's just really neat, learning. But once you start playing a few of these games, I feel like it makes it a lot easier to then learn others. So that made it more fun too. But we had people that would play games they might be there all day on one game.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some games folks played that took 5 or 6 hours.
No, I've never
waste of
done
time.
the closest we got was that collaborative game that Christian, Luke, you and I would meet and play for a while.
Yeah, but even that was split up. I mean, that was
Yeah.
chopped up.
Right, but so I don't play games that are more than a few hours. I haven't.
About an hour. Hour is my sweet spot. I can go hour and a half, but
Yeah.
there was a game there that somebody said is going to take an hour to explain it.
Oh my goodness.
By minute 55, I would have forgotten
tapped
what happened
out.
in the
Yeah.
first
Yes.
30 minutes. Like, there's no way you can learn everything
Right.
in an hour.
Right.
Like, if it's that much.
And I can't learn that way. You know, like I don't learn by necessarily reading the directions and stuff. I need to I learn through playing. I feel like I have to play something at
Yeah.
least once,
Yeah.
you know, to really learn it. So that's why I feel like on some of the games, I can't quite say what I think of them yet, because if I've only played them once, it's like, oh, I don't know.
Whenever someone tells me directions, I usually just tune them out. Just kind of wait to start playing the game.
Yeah.
You and Danielle.
As
Yeah, that's
is
what she does.
evidenced by
That's-
some of
no,
your
that makes
play,
it-
your
no,
gameplay. Yeah.
That makes it a lot better.
When you were
Danielle will
doing
try
things-
to do something, I'm like, you can't do that. Well, why not? Because remember, I said this. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. So that,
And I want to reach across the table and just strangle.
just like Josh not paying attention on a few, but yeah, because there were some things that like you'd happen and like we're 3 moves down and we're like, wait a minute, you couldn't do that. You couldn't play that there. So anyway,
She couldn't play that there. She was the one playing.
yeah. But ReCon, something to check out in the future for people who are interested.
Yeah.
Also, I still have to record at some point my Disney episode. I haven't forgotten for everybody listening.
Yep. The tricks of the trade of Disney.
Yes. Yeah.
Just don't go. That's my trick of the trade. It's not fun. Save
Okay,
some money.
we are a family divided. You have Maria who loves Disney, and then you have
I hate Disney.
Joshua.
I despise Disney.
Well, you wouldn't say
I despise Disney.
Okay.
I would say that.
why.
It's not fun. There's a billion people there always. It just isn't fun. All the rides just kind of mid now. I don't know. It's just not fun.
Well,
I mean, it's not fun when you're having to.
I know one sponsorship we're not going to get based on that.
I hope
Disney
so.
is not going to be sponsoring
Disney's
this
the devil.
podcast. I'm like, well, we'll have to get Maria on as a guest sometime to talk about Disney if we ever want
Last
that.
good thing Disney did was Gravity Falls, and they ended that. So they haven't done anything good since like 2015.
Goodness. Yeah. Joshua's very opinionated on these things.
That's what makes a good podcast
Yes.
podcast host.
Well, we're glad to have you, Joshua, but if you come back, you can't gang
Yeah, you
up
gotta
against
pay
me.
me.
You can't do that.
Well, if I come back, I better be paid handsomely.
Okay. Guess we won't have Josh back.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, this has been Mike.
And Beth.
And Josh.
And this has been Hey, Are You Still There?